Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Deborah Leanne.
Uh, I'm in a different background, but let's go ahead and get started, and then we can talk about how this all feeds into our topic today of turbulence.
Okay. Well, today we're going to be talking about the 36th gene key, and this is about becoming human. And
Mhm.
this study is through the book Gene Keys, written by Richard Rudd. And there are very different states of consciousness, and the what we call the human or the shadow of this key is turbulence. And the gift that comes from turbulence is humanity. And the acidic state or the higher vibration of this key is compassion. So we have all various different states.
And they're all here right now.
Exactly. Cheers to that.
Yeah, and my coffee, like I don't even have coffee this morning, so if that tells you anything about turbulence in my life. I do have a cup of tea, but it's way over there. So let's just go ahead and get started. And then as we're talking, maybe I'll reach for my tea later because it's hard for me to talk without something in my hands. Isn't that funny? Turbulence. Yeah. I think this is fascinating because the more I was reading about it, I was going, oh, internal, oh, external, oh. So I think depending on where we are in our life, we experience it in different ways.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're ever going to be done experiencing it because it's what throws us into our humanity. If our life was peachy keen every day, we probably wouldn't ever get to that beautiful citic state of compassion.
Well, because
Um,
if we did, we couldn't we couldn't sense it because it's like we have to be relatable and keep our heart open through
right.
that, right?
Yeah. And turbulence throws us into a lot of pain or discomfort, or for me, I can feel the adrenaline pumping through my body, the anxiety. And so where that turbulence lands in us and how we hold it is just something for us to love on ourselves, give ourselves compassion, because it's when we repress it or act on it that turbulence can get really it can become harmful to other people.
Yeah. Well, you just touched on the two other states. The repressive
Oh,
nature of this key is nervousness. So if you can feel the vibration of that, and that's that inability to relax. It's like caught in your nervous system because you're not allowing it to move through you,
mm,
and so it kind of traps that energy. And it, most times when you are afraid of change, this is what comes up, is this inner turbulence within you. Yeah, yeah. Um, and so it's interesting. He also talks about these are also people who tend to repress their sexuality out of a deep-seated fear of change. Um, so that's the nuance that's kind of interesting.
yeah, and I think as we play with how this folds into the humanity thing,
Yeah.
humanity is being with all of us in all of our strange different states. Strange, where am I labeling anything? That what we consider to be right, wrong, what we were told was right or wrong, that this kind of sexuality is right or wrong, that you shouldn't, even if you do mostly have this type of sexuality, but you have feelings for another type of person, then what? Oh, so where we want to me, it feels like humanity is expansive
Yeah.
and it opens our heart to love even more, no matter how it shows up. And it's the censoring. I that's for me, that's what it is. I have like that inner voice going, "Mm, really? That's not, I mean, were you, no, that's not right." That kind of thing.
Yeah. The So that's nervousness. That's the repressive. The reactive is the opposite town, right? That's the crisis prone. That's the person that's like
The
exploding
drama queen, yeah, we all know.
drama.
Yeah, we all know them, and they are uh, great examples of, oh my God, their life is so crazy. So
Yeah.
glad mine's not. Ha.
Well, he says these people do not realize their inability to deal with their emotions and their sexuality cleanly and honestly, and it creates further turmoil in other seemingly unrelated areas of their life.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so, so, so this one just feels, and it's funny because I'm in this spare bedroom at my elderly aunt's house while she's in rehab. And it was the closest place to the internet connection. So there's lots more beautiful spaces to be in, more sound effective spaces, better lit spaces. But it just reminds me that that life is, we don't get to control what shows up. And part of the drama that shows up is when we expect things to go in a certain way, that we think we have a routine, and then as soon as we think we have a routine, how something comes and sideswipes that. So I, so how can we soften? For me, it's a softening. I can feel it in my body when I just slow down enough to go, oh, this is what being a human means, you know?
yeah. And the fact is that we're all in that same state of just living out on this planet in our humanness. So
Can we
let's
make space for that? I don't know.
a little
It,
grace. Yeah.
so, you know, I was thinking about this so much yesterday as we did a big kind of cross country trip yesterday, and in the car things were moving along really, really well, and I was like, but I didn't feel well, and I couldn't get I didn't want to go and like unpack all the beautifully packed things in the car to go rooting around to go, where's my stomach stuff? Where's my digestive enzymes? So anyway, it was like, so just sit with it. So I sat with it, and it was not comfortable all day. And I thought, okay, this is just change. You know, we're okay. We're not dying here. But it was that and I noticed as soon as we are uncomfortable, how we want to fix it versus just, what if we just allowed it to be? And it lasted all day and all night until I went to bed and woke up this morning and feeling much better. But isn't that weird how we are so, and I look at our pharmaceutical industry. Oh, we've got a pill for that. Oh, let's take care of that. Oh, let's clean that part of your house or that part of your system or that part of, it's all about making things get to some level of what? Normalcy?
Hmm. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, is it normal? What are we wanting to get to? A
Well,
state of,
it sounded like you're trying to fix your turbulence.
well, yeah, well, I mean, we don't like it, so we want it to get back to what? We want
Yeah.
it to, like everybody kept saying after COVID, I just want things to get back to normal. And I'm like, what
Right.
is
What's
normal?
that? Hmm. Well, I he talks about this key having the archetype of the dark night of the soul. So really embracing that really uncomfortable time, or in your case physical ilk, or what if it's emotional or mental, just embracing it without having to change it.
Mhm.
This is part of the codon ring that is related to the 63rd shadow, which is all about self-doubt, and it's all about redemption, actually. And so isn't that interesting that it's like um, tied into that the feeling of just staying open, even when you want to shut down.
Yeah, especially when we wanna shut down.
Yeah.
Um, And that's what it kind of goes against everything our culture tells us to, which is to clean it up, make it go away, don't feel it.
Yeah. It's really, I really feel like I did a, I've done a lot of work in this key, especially in 2015, 2016, when I needed to break my heart open. And I had just come off of a 25-year marriage and was divorced. And it was really about loving myself, having so much compassion for my 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 path and my humanity and the trials and tribulations I was going through. Um, it really gives me that perspective of, wow, if I can hold that space for myself, I mean, that's, and to keep your heart open after after that. Um, when we are in that state of open-heartedness, it's very hard to become overwhelmed because it's moving, the energy is constantly moving through you.
Because you're not trying to hold it or clench it or control it,
Control it.
and so then there's space for it to yeah.
Yeah.
And this he did say something at some place, even, in the civic state, that this is one of the more grounding, of the gene keys, and I can see that in the humanity one, because if we embody it and we allow ourselves to have this experience, that is what we're here for, to learn and grow from this human experience. For years, I was such a robot at work, being this, and then went through all kinds of different stuff. But what I remember is so clearly one of my coaches going, "Well, welcome to being human." Because I was like, "Oh, is this what it's about?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I thought, I thought that I thought I would transcend, that I would learn and then I would grow and I would just keep climbing this ladder, right? Going somewhere. I don't know.
Like, where is where? Where?
Yeah, there. I wanna know where there is. But it's not here. So being here
Yeah.
now, one of my favorite mantras, "Be here now," is that humanity thing. It's
Mm.
like, another teacher called it being with time. Just be with what is. And I was
So,
like, "That's harder than it sounds."
oh, it is so grounding, so grounding. And it's really about trusting in our own strength, that life is living through us and not having to change anything, just being with. That's so good.
And I was like, "Oh, we're gonna be with each other?" I thought the be with time when she called it that with that session. I was like, "Oh, that'll be cool. We're gonna be with each other." She goes, "No, no, no, let's be with what's going on with you." And I was like, "Oh,
Well, and as we have that we understanding of our own humanness, it allows us to make space for people to see people just as they are going through their own humanness.
it
But
sure
doesn't
makes"
just
yeah,
because somebody is having a different path or a different way of being, it doesn't need to it doesn't need to impact your your path.
yeah.
They're doing their thing, you're doing your thing. That's like, oh, I see you human. I'm humaning too.
I think we should change it to a verb. Let's human today. I'm
Yes,
here to
let's
be
human.
human. And, actually, can we talk about that? I'm gonna come and visit you so we can be human together. We can
Yes,
humanize.
yes, that's the humaning part,
Yeah.
becoming human. We're gonna human together.
Oh, yeah. And it'll be good to be with each other while we're humaning,
Yeah.
so we can ground each other. So as we play with this humanity gift, it doesn't seem that much difference because you're opening to a space where there is compassion, right? So what's the difference between that and the acidic state? Do you know?
From what I understand, it is, oof, that's so good. I got a glimpse of it. Feel into compassion, that word compassion for a minute, and envision the fragrance of a pure human aura and the aroma of grace. It is our divinity within our humanity. It's that Christ consciousness. He calls it the Beatitudes. It's
Yeah, which I love that prayer anyway.
yeah,
And, that's the mudra. I'm not standing, so you can't see me, but a little bit, if I could be a little bit wider, you'd have your arms extended and kind of down, but it's in that space of how you see Jesus very often, in that welcoming, all
open
is well, and you are perfect exactly the way you are stance.
open arms.
And as you have that open palm, which is also called a Buddhic palm, you can have you can feel, I can feel what we so scientifically call the fizzies, right? The energy flowing through our hands. And it's like, oh, of course, this is humanity. This is compassion for self, the world, others. So read that part again that you just read, because that was really gorgeous.
It's the fragrance of pure human aura. It's the aroma of grace.
Hmm.
And it's the divinity within our humanity. So imagine meeting God in human being with no agenda. It's
I
being.
can't even live a life without an agenda every day. It's like I have an agenda. So I'm softening that, but it is still so programmed in me to plan and um
And this key is actually, it's interesting. He says it is the same answer as given to us by the 25th city, which is all about universal love. It's that same kind of similar frequencies. Um, but
but
compassion,
universal love is in a it's not as grounded as I feel like compassion has got that humanity thing in it.
exactly, because it's universal love in action, it feels like to me.
Okay. In the 3D, it's like showing up in 3D versus universal love to me can feel like such a high,
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab my tea. Mm.
And it's all in the acidic state, but yeah, you're right. It feels much more grounded as a way of being in this space.
Mhm. Mhm.
And Richard equates people that have this city, and you might have had this weave in your life. Um, if it's not in your profile, you've seen it or experienced it, and it's very salt of the earth people. You know, they're really practical and just down to
And some of the he described it, some of the most gentle, loving people,
yeah,
and how just their transmission of being heals people because it ripples out from them,
yeah.
and that's how we're evolving humanity, is when we reach these acidic states and we're helping to create more of that energy on this plane. It's helping us to move forward or backward or up or down, or see, there I go, I have a system that it's all supposed to be doing versus just knowing that we're moving, changing.
Well,
And
what's
that resistance to change, isn't that how he described the shadow?
yeah. The the other part about it is its programming partner is the sixth. So think of compassion and peace as the other acidic state. So the the programming of turbulence and conflict moves to peace and
Human
compassion
or compassion.
through through diplomacy and
Diplomacy and humanity.
humanity.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Um, that gives me my logical brain likes that because I can see the steps very clearly there,
Yeah.
and the relationships between the words.
Yeah.
Um, I have a question for you about what part of the physiology, how does this relate to our bodies?
This is in the, I think it's in the solar plexus. Let me double check. Yeah, solar plexus. So that's really where you
Like,
emanate your I am.
yeah,
Yeah.
where I was hanging out in discomfort all day yesterday. Okay. Just want to make sure that I'm understanding that I'm fully handling the turbulence in my body.
I would love to be able to close this in reading the Beatitudes today.
Oh, that's a beautiful close. Yes, please.
Okay. So this is basically what Jesus was uttering on the Sermon of the Mount. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.